Hello, and via live, happy Thursday, everybody. I know I say this at every episode, but today we have a really amazing guest for you. Not only is she a certified food scientist, she has something else up her sleeve you want to get your hands on. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Christian Fischer. I'm the host of the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show, and I'm really excited to have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Breanna Neff. She's the co founder and chief food scientist of Conscious Food, and she made an amazing product we're going to talk about a little bit later. Not only is she a graduate of Cornell, we love everything Cornell dining. We
Yes.
we love Cornell. She's amazingly good what she does. She lives in New York. And
Mhm.
today you guys get to know her a little bit more and what she's up to. So with that, welcome, Miss Brianna. We're happy to have you.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to join and to talk.
So we really excited to get to know a little bit more about you. You have this famous chef in your life. Maybe you can tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that relationship. But talk to us a little bit, answer our listeners who you are and what you're currently up to.
Yes. So my name's Brianna. You already said certified food scientist. I would say also dog lover, whiskey lover, wine lover. Let's say all the good things, and also a cannabis enthusiast. So I'm a functional product developer as well, and I'm all about functional ingredients. And I really deem cannabis to be one of the most highly functional ingredients out there. And that's what got me to developing and focusing on Brelixi, which is our my latest endeavor. It's our Elixir brand. It's a functional drink mix that also utilizes fast acting cannabis for all of the amazing benefits. And it also has adaptogens, nootropics, and antioxidants. It comes in a really cute stick pack. You just put in 8 ounces of water and you have your own instantly infused beverage right there. So I'm really enjoying this kind of field and really getting into it. We're only 10 months old, so we're still babies, brand new to the scene, but it's been really, really fun so far. And we've been getting some great accolades on the way to this journey. So yeah.
That's an amazing story. And if you guys recognize the name, Chef Carrie Neff, who is
Mhm.
a really good chef friend of mine, we had him on the show. If you haven't done so, please go back. We had him on just a few weeks ago. He's an amazing human being, an amazing chef, and an innovator in the industry.
Yeah.
So Brianna happens to be his daughter. So she grew up around amazing food, around sustainability, and doing the right thing. So talk to us a little bit. Why Cornell? You live in Arizona. Why do you want to move to upstate New York? And then why food science, which is also its own thing? And how do you came about creating Brelixi? By the way, full transparency, we had some at the office here. Everybody loved it. We just need to reorder. If you haven't done so, we will have in the show notes the link to get your hands on that product. Is absolutely amazing.
Awesome.
So, what made you move from Arizona to upstate New York?
Arizona. Well, that is due to my father,
Mhm.
who you just mentioned, carrying up. So, we actually moved around during my middle school and high school times to different resorts that he was working at and consulting at as a
Yep.
chef. So he's really focused on starting, different hospitality centers at these different spas. So that's what actually brought me to Pennsylvania during high school. And ever since that time there, I visited New York City a lot, like a lot, and I really fell in love with just that type of area. So I knew that I wanted to go to school in the East Coast.
Hmm.
And what brought me to Cornell was I was just a huge science nerd in my school days, and I really thought I wanted to be some type of doctor. I really I was focused on animal science and being a vet because dealing with people, I felt like it'd be way easier to deal with animals. So I was like, let's be a vet. I think this is a good case for me. And Cornell was number one in their pre-vet and animal science program. So I wanted to try to get in there, and I did. But ever since my first semester, I was taking all these science classes, and I was just trying to see what I really liked and what I really enjoyed. So I took some nutritional science classes and food science classes. Never heard of food science ever as an actual career. And so taking some freshman year classes, they really showed us like what you can do as a food scientist in your career and how you can grow that pathway. And I found it way more exciting and inspirational than a vet, just because I already had such a tie to food and all of its therapeutic benefits. I always
Mhm.
was asking my father, like, why is this like this, and what does this mean, and how do we combine these matrices, and why does baking soda do this versus baking powder? All these like technical questions that I was always researching and always like looking on the back of the label and reading all of that information. And I didn't know that that was kind of odd. I didn't know that not most people did that. And so once I found that there's actually a study and there's actually a career that people do this and they establish these regulations and help, review the nutrition label, I was just in awe. So that was, my journey and how I started into food science. So blessed that I found it like first year of school, because I switched my major immediately and I just was in love ever since. But yeah, so what got me to Brelixi, I mean, ever since Cornell, I worked in different lanes in food science. I started in food safety and compliance. That was really fun because I worked for a small importer and I went abroad all the time to help with their FDA international inspections. And then at that time, I was lucky enough to really work closely with the R&D team of these different manufacturing sites. So
Mhm.
work with closely with like Nestle and Campbell's. They were our part of our accounts when we would go abroad, and I would
Yep.
see how they would make the tomato sauce and see what their food scientists were doing in the kitchen, like R&D product developers. I was like, wow, I definitely want to be a product developer. This sounds awesome. This looks awesome. So spending some more years in like regulatory compliance, I worked for Danone and Evian doing consumer review labels, exactly what I was saying. So I was actually inputting and reviewing all food labels for a few years, and then transitioned into being a product developer for some startup companies based in New York. One notable one is Daily Harvest. They're a
Mhm.
frozen vegan delivery food service. I started their flatbreads line. If anyone is familiar with Daily Harvest, that was my baby, or product development there. And that was great because we really were hyper focused on like on figuring stuff out. So, okay, we're vegan, we can't use eggs. How do we make a really great
Mhm.
flatbread crust, for example? I was really challenged with that, and it was really fun to just play around with different ingredients. And that's what got me really obsessed with functional ingredients and how to
Yep.
utilize that in formulations and in a more natural, sustainable way. Um, and honestly, being in New York, 2020 was when cannabis became recreational and when
Yep.
dispensaries started happening. And I just was always a cannabis enthusiast. Again, because of the functionality for it, I'm one of those people who can utilize this plant and just really, focus in on studying and focus in on getting my stuff done and kind of also utilize it as a reward. So I found it to be really great for just my working professional life. And I was like, how do we, further destigmatize this, celebrate this type of ingredient? It's a functional ingredient, but people just really have that stigma in it. I mean,
Mhm.
around it. So that's what got me into Brelixi. I stumbled upon this amazing technology called nano emulsion technology, which basically encapsulates the cannabinoid particle in a very, very small size. So it's able to go into your system really fast, way faster than the traditional consumables.
Mhm.
5 to 15 minutes that it goes into your system. And I was just so inspired by that functionality. And so I wanted to bring it to the masses. I'm a functional beverage girl, is what I call myself. I always have like all these different mixes of supplemental powders to put into my teas and smoothies and stuff. So that's kind of how I designed Brelixi. We're a drink mix. We have electrolytes and adaptogens and nootropics and nano cannabis and antioxidants, all of the things in one. It was kind of selfishly created by myself. And apparently that's a common founder story. It's like, I didn't find this in the market, so I had to make it myself for myself, but then other people liked it. So now it's a product. That's definitely how I got started. And it's been a really great time so far. And actually, just last month, we launched a brand new product called Flavorless Functional Fast Acting Powder. So instead of the flavored stick packs that
Yep.
create your own lemonades, this is a flavorless, like 30 serving jar it comes in a powder form and it's heat stable. So up to 400 degrees, you can cook with it, bake with it, add to your soup, hot coffee, matchas, smoothies, anything you want, and instantly dissolves into your own like elevated infusion, right? So it's a really approachable way for consumers to instantly elevate their routines.
I love all of that. And as a food scientist and as an entrepreneur, so how do you approach the incorporation of hemp into food and beverage products? I mean, considering the regulation constraints and the consumer, acceptance around that.
Yes, so we are to answer that directly, we are cannabis hemp and we're
Yep.
not cannabis marijuana. Cannabis marijuana has so many more regulations and taxes and restrictions and limitations. And I didn't want to do that, with my first product and having, bootstrap startup. I really was hesitant to going down that lane and that journey without major investment. So I really wanted to obviously make it a nationwide product, also have a D2C online business and some retailers. So hemp was the answer to that. If you are less than 0.3% by THC and dry weight, you are a hemp product. You could
Mhm.
have hemp derived THC, you could have hemp derived CBD, any of those things. Is regulated under hemp. So I'm a hemp business, and that's why I'm allowed to ship nationwide and go to different stores, not just in state dispensaries, let's say.
Yeah. We love the product. By the way,
Great,
me and
great,
my
great.
team here had it, and they would like to have more of it. So we need to make sure we kind of reorder. Not only, I love the idea of how did you come about that little package you made? And by the way, we will link in the show notes. We see a lot of presentations around new products. Your product, hands down, best product on the market.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. The packaging and the design was really inspired by my own spiritual journey into Reiki and chakra balancing and all of that. So personally, I'm a huge fan of that type of introspective, self-care practice. And that's really what I wanted to kind of implement into the packaging. So we have really nice gradient, soft gradient colors, and we have also some sacred geometry in the packaging and some stars and sparkles to really kind of elevate and to kind of give you that type of calming, high vibrational energy and vibe. And so that's kind of was my approach for the design. And I don't know, I just have a particular eye of what I like and what I don't like. I'm a huge packaging person. I'm always like Trader Joe's is it's like my Disneyland. I just love what they have. They always have new things, and it's just a huge passion of mine. Also, it's just kind of packaging design. So I kind of took my top brands, and they were my inspirations to kind of lead me to how Brelixi is presented right now.
Yeah, I hands down best presentation. Again, we will link it in the
Thank
show
you.
notes. We shared it with a few of my friends and same feedback. It's absolutely amazing how you put it together, and it totally speaks to the brand you have. The packaging itself is attractive, and so I'm really excited about that. So talk to us a little bit your entrepreneurial journey, and we have a lot of our listeners, chefs, which want to become entrepreneurs. I want to try something new. What are some of the most valuable lessons you have learned along your journey, and especially around Brelixi?
The best thing that I would recommend is like in terms of being an entrepreneur and stuff as well is being scared is what you're supposed to be feeling unstable. Let's say not uh not steady, I would say. It's just like the feeling that I've been embracing, and ever since I've embraced that as an entrepreneur, I've just been kind of getting way more opportunities than without. I feel like kind of having that understanding of like, okay, this is a business that I'm trying to build. I don't know the future, but I really want it to get to this certain place, and kind of pushing it along that journey is the only way to really start something and to really fuel it as well. So without you starting and not being hesitant to pursue the journey that you want, that's the only way that you can be successful in your endeavors. So I think that's my number one advice. It's just like, if you want to start something, just do it. Nike, just do it. I've heard that before I started a company, and I found it to be kind of annoying, but once I started it, I was like, wow,
It's so true.
this is what
It's
it
so
is. You just have to do
um,
it.
I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things we teach in our programs is you need to start. By starting, you know what you will like and what you not like. And then also, you kind of need to talk about what are my non-negotiables, what am I not willing to do.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel the way you do. I always thought they were so overrated, the whole just do it, but actually doing it helps you to get to where you need to go. So I'm really interested overall around the product and all the things you do. So now as an entrepreneur, brand new into this, how do you prioritize short-term goals, long-term goals around a product like Brelixi?
That is a great question. We're only 10 months in again, and so it feels like every couple weeks there's like a shift in growth, which is great. But because of that, like my priorities and perspectives on priorities have to change constantly. So
Yeah.
um when it comes to high, medium, and low, it's really important to establish those on a daily and weekly basis, and also on like a quarterly basis to make sure that you're hitting those high priorities. So I really rely on I have a great team of advisors. That's also something I would highly recommend. I tapped
Mhm.
on all of my friends in my network who were really expert in their own lane. So digital marketing, SEO optimization, one's like a lobbyist and really helps with pitching. And that's really beneficial. And then also business development strategy and different things like this. I would always ask them for advice, but now that I have them as like kind of board members on my team and on my cap table, they have a small percentage to really help bring Brelixi to all the spaces I want it to be. Leaning on them for advice also helps me just stick to my priorities. So I would say before it was kind of me just making sure I was doing all my little to-do lists. Once that to-do list became way too long to manage, I really had to reach out and get additional support. And so I'm really happy I brought on my team of advisors to help me facilitate that.
It's amazing. I find it absolutely amazing watching you, what you have built at a very young age. You really successful. Where do you get your inspiration from?
My father. I would say my father, I watched him my whole life, like, be work mostly as a consultant and so be his own entrepreneur and, his own little small business.
Mhm.
So that was really great to watch. And I love being my own boss. I working in corporate, like I always kind of wasn't battling the bosses, but like I always just wanted to do things my way and more efficiently than I would see others do it. And so I feel like that also inspires me just to be like, hey, I'm doing what I really want to do. It might be hard and like I'm getting no sleep, but I'm tired all the time. I feel like a brand new parent or something. um, but that's what keeps me going for sure.
So, what are some of the unique challenges you have as an entrepreneur entering into functional food, especially that whole industry? How do you navigate the those challenges with your product?
Well, I would say because we're hemp product or cannabis product, we have so many challenges, way more than other
Mhm.
typical small businesses, like finding a compliant bank and going to certain and like having invoice systems paid out in different portals and things like that's it's a huge struggle for us to even be approved, even though we're federally farm bill compliant, just because there's a stigma out there. So to
Yep.
work in this type of emerging industry, that's it's like post prohibition times. It's still unregulated, regulated but unregulated. It's kind of settling itself. It's just weird. It's like kind of awkward, like how things continue to change. But this is what it is. It's also really fun because we're in it right as it's starting on the ground lines, breaking ground. So it's fun, but it's also kind of annoying because regulations change often without
Yep.
really good basis. And I'm coming from a regulatory compliance background, so I asked the reasons why, and they're just like, because we think that this is the way to do it. It's like, no, give me actual scientific facts why you're changing the nutritional value, maximums, for example, on hemp. But that being said, yeah, for functional cannabis products, it's just really making sure that you're on top of all the changing regulations. So because of I have to have my ear on the ground per state as well. I'm in with different groups. There's like a hemp beverage alliance group that I'm with. So that really helps me to keep the nationwide regulations and all in check and things like that. So I'm making sure that I have these certain resources as well.
It sounds like, this is just a regular business and the pressure of being an entrepreneur and starting something new with all the regulations. And I have a lot of my friends which would love to play in that space, and that's one of the reasons they don't, because it's kind of a deterrent for some of them doing all of that. So I love how you started out the conversation, how you researched and you work for all of these different companies. Talk to our listeners a little bit the importance on research and development, and how do you drive innovation with that in a very competitive, functional food market?
Yeah. So research, like competitive analysis of your other, competitors
Mhm.
out there, competing products out there. I'd say that that's a really very important first step before going down formulating or ideating new products is really like what's out there, assessing the market, seeing if there's any gaps. And that's what inspires, that's how Brelixi actually was born, is because once I was doing that competitive analysis, I realized that there was zero direct competitors with stick packs to make
Hmm.
a functional beverage that has all of the functional ingredients that I have. So some have like caffeine, some have with cannabis, some have a small amount of electrolytes with cannabis, some have like melatonin with cannabis. But mine was really focused on elevating your daily rituals and having it being like an everyday experience. And so I found that hydrating electrolytes in addition to adaptogens and nootropics for your mind and
Hmm.
body spirit alignment was really the gold ticket, the golden ticket. And I did not see any product out there when I was doing my competitive analysis. So that's what got me really excited and excited to bring this type of innovation to the market because it didn't exist, which is crazy in the food and beverage world because you rarely see that nowadays with all these large CPGs just like running over everyone. So as a entrepreneur and food scientist, I was just like, this is exactly what I should attack and kind of run towards. And so I did with full fledged, just kind of sprinted towards this opportunity, and really happy I did because now the market is exactly where it should be. It's really really awesome.
I totally agree. And for us, full transparency to our listeners, we love the product so much that we are fostering a partnership with you and your team to put a product to market. So I'm really excited to work a little bit more with you around that because we a big believer in not just you and your family, also in your product. We love everything about it. So now talk to us a little bit as the founder. What has been the most rewarding aspects of building and leading your own company?
Wow, that is a great question. So I think it goes back to just me really enjoying kind of being my own boss. And so it's a struggle because I learned that um what's it called? When you basically give directions to different people and you're delegating kind of your tasks, I found that at first to be really challenging for me because I'm the type of person who loves to do everything myself. But I had to really learn to let that go pretty early in my journey in order for my team to feel confident in what they're doing and also just to get adequate, efficient work done. So I can't do it all myself. And I feel like that's most founders' challenge is like, I just want like five of me, but I don't, and it's kind of hard to kind of let other people do, hand your baby off to someone else, let's say. So once I kind of got over that, then that's how, a lot more work was able to get done and a lot more, just our I feel like our growth has expanded in a different realm, like kind of just across horizontally versus just me trying to do everything. So that was a really great challenge that I really had to face. But ever since then, I feel like I have a really good team and system working. Again, it's really, difficult because I feel like our different, let's say, growth metrics or definition of success changes often because
Yep.
we're so, you know, less than a year old. Like everything is just so new and different. And it's really great to see kind of the changes week after week.
So a lot of our listeners, again, the whole premise of the disruptive chef entrepreneur is for chefs to look at some of their transferable skills, not just looking at their transferable skills, also act on it. And, there's a lot of people which would love to do something like you do. What are some key takeaways as a piece of advice you would have with a fellow entrepreneur who wants to embark on a similar journey as you are?
Um, I would say, well, first of all, since this is a chef podcast and I have a food science background, there is a really attractive certificate out there. That's actually what I have as a certified food scientist. It's from IFT, the Institute of Food Technologists.
Mhm.
It's called Certified Food Scientist course, where you basically can take this course and or you're able to basically be in session with different food chem professors and other professors that are, in the field actually working in their professional field. They're not just educators, but they're able to, take their actual professional experience and kind of teach you as well. So
Yep.
that type of course and certification, I think it's valid for like at least 4 years before you have to renew. That really, there was a lot of chefs in my classes because they really were learning about, food chemistry and interactions and shelf life extension and all the things that I
Mhm.
know. So learning, having more of that type of technical understanding for formulation, I think is a really great first step if you want to get more into this functional ingredient, innovative formulation. So I highly recommend that. That was a really great certificate course, and it was highly engaging with the course masters and practitioners. I mean, so I definitely say that's a great first step. And yeah, I don't know. Developing food and beverage products is always a really, interesting different way to do it, because meals and how you actually, provide, food service to those that you're actually, giving meals to and live is much different than like a packaged good that you have to ship and all these things. So I would just say if you have any inspirational companies too, to kind of do more research and just like dive in deep into what they did and how they started. And that's also what I've done. I really have like these 5 inspirational companies that I've been obsessed with as a consumer, but now as an entrepreneur, I'm always kind of seeing like how was their first year and how do we compare and what
Mhm.
did they do? How did they succeed or fail? And so kind of mimicking those steps as well is what I recommend.
That's awesome. That's some really good advice. And hopefully people listen to this twice, because that works not just what you do, is you can really translate this into so many different ways. So that's really some good advice. So let our listeners learn a little bit more about what's Breanna up to next. And let us have the little behind the curtain look. What's next for Brelixi?
That is a great question. I was so excited to launch this new flavorless powder. Let me show you because I'm not
Yep.
sure if you've seen it. Um, it's in this really pretty jar. So it's made for like I want this to be a little bit more luxury, to
Mhm.
sit on, the spa shelves and you can just enjoy it in your teas and things like that. It's also great for the mocktail moment. So you're able to just do some scoops. One scoop of this is 10 milligrams CBD, and I have a nice scoop guide on the cap of this lid. So that I've been obsessed and excited about this for like the last 6 months, and I still feel like I'm buzzing off of that. It launched just like end of January. But what's next on our plate is I'm so obsessed with the just the nano cannabis moment, the fact that it's a sublingual release. So it first enacts in your mouth, and then as it goes through your esophagus and like upper stomach digestive lining, that's how it fully dissolves. It
Mhm.
dissolves way before it hits your lower intestine, your liver. So because
Yep.
of that, I want to like focus more on like the sublingual moment. And so those different formats, let's say everyone loves like mints and mouth sprays, for example. So possibly something like that. But again, hyper focus on functionality. So maybe something for the cold, sick, immunity season, having some type of sublingual format is what I'm excited
That
about.
that's awesome. And I'm looking at our clock. We want to make sure we keep it within a half hour. And for me, I can talk to you forever, because I feel that whole movement. Um, I think it's just a starting point. I think it's gonna be everywhere in a very short period of time. I
Agreed.
also love the way you guys position your product, and not just that it's CBD, that it has the all other benefits, which has your dad's mission written all over you,
Yeah.
all over it. And then for me, I love the idea of having something which can incorporate it in so many different ways. And again, full transparency, we're working on an ice cream brand together with Brelixi. So our ice cream brand, we would love to be powered by Brelixi. So on the shelves very soon. So we're really excited about that project. So Breanna, can you tell our listeners how can they get to know more about you, your brand, and what you guys are up to? How can people find you?
Yes, great question. So you can find us first on our Instagram. So it's just at Brelixi, Brelixi. It's kind of a combination of Brianna's elixir, Brelixi. Also on our website, brelixi.com, we have all of our information there. If you go to our Find Us page, we have a bunch of events. And also you can sign up for our newsletter. And we constantly have promotions and events in the local New York City area that people can come and enjoy and demo our product for free and things like that.
That's awesome. Thank you. And then again, we have all of this information in the show notes. If you haven't done so, make sure you guys check out what Brelix is up to. Also, go back and look at the episode from Chef Carrie Neff, which was another amazing conversation. And if you haven't done so, please go to the Disruptive Chef Club, which is our selective group of individuals which get a front row seat of all the good things we do. And if you sign up this week, and you call Brelixi by name and give him a shout out on social media, we're going to send you a packet of that on us to make sure you guys get to see that product. And before we wrap up, Breanna, we usually have three rapid fire questions, and my team gives me these questions in I just got them a few minutes ago. So to our listeners, it's gonna be an interesting thing, and we kind of pivot and change them a little bit. So I have here, I have it. And the first question is, what is a overrated or underrated kitchen gadget?
Kitchen gadget. Okay. All right, the first one that comes to my mind, I'm gonna go with the underrated one because I feel like there's a use for all these for everything. But I feel like the most underrated kitchen gadget is the pineapple core or like the spiralizer. It's amazing. Why don't I see this being used all the time, every day? And guess what? I just learned about it like last year. I had no idea. So I was just dicing pineapples like a lame-o.
I love that. This thing is around since the 60s, but I agree with you. It's an amazing tool.
It's amazing. Yeah. So I'm a huge fan. Now I have pineapples all the time when they're in season.
That's awesome. Question number two is, what was some bad or good advice you gotten?
Um, some yeah, great advice is to start in the cannabis industry to start with hemp opposed to marijuana, and I'm so happy I did that. Very, very happy I did that. I just have less, again, limitations, restrictions, and I'm less, required to do exactly what the state says I can do, nationwide, and then just keep in charge or keep in touch with all the different state regulations. But hemp is non-taxed and it's just much more accessible and more approachable for everyone. So I'm very happy I did that. And on top of that, it's kind of connected. CBD. I'm a huge cannabis enthusiast, and I really was, about the THC product, but CBD I wanted to bring mostly for the masses and because of the anti-anxiety functionality behind it. But I wasn't really focusing on that. I was really focusing on the THC industry. But I'm happy I, kind of expanded my beliefs there because the CBD just does wonders, and I'm a huge, huge fan. And I see that kind of, touching upon more, let's say like health issues and can give
Mhm.
you more benefits than even the THC alone does. So really great advice.
I absolutely love that. And I think there just needs to be a little bit more innovation around the senior living side. I think that your
Yeah.
product could be a huge benefit to a lot of seniors out there. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on some product on that. So, and then the last question we have for you is, if you were giving the power to ban one ingredient forever, what would it be and why?
Oh my Lord. Is this like a real food ingredient or like a
It could be anything, anything you want to make go away.
Um, I would wanna like a really common preservative like sodium benzoate or something
Mhm.
like this that's in all of like the sodas and stuff. That would be great if could go away because then it would challenge, all these large food and beverage companies to look at something more natural. I'm
Love that.
wanna
Love
caveat that too, yeah. Removing it for a more natural replacement. That's what I'd love to see.
I love that. Send me the form. I sign up. I signed that petition because they agree with that. That needs to go away. So with that, I want to say thank you, Miss Breanna, for the gift of your time. Thanks for giving our listeners a little bit behind the scenes on functional food and what you guys do with Brelixi. And to our listeners, if you haven't done so, please make sure you guys follow Breanna and all the stuff she's up to. Make sure you get your hands on some of that product. You can order it online. We always order online. Great shipping. You will be very pleasantly surprised on how amazing the product is and how amazingly it looks. So, Miss Brianna, any final thoughts or any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Um, I guess I would say final words is just to if you're scared, don't be. If you wanna start something, do it, and, you'll just be used to the fear at that point. Fear is just, I feel like, kind of a motivator for me now, and talking to my other, entrepreneur friends who are just starting their new businesses, we're all in the same boat where we're like, "This is kinda scary," and it's scary just because it's not stable, and change
Mhm.
is scary, and so once I kinda realized that and embrace that fear, I've only been more successful in my efforts and endeavors, so, I would definitely recommend that.
That's awesome. That's some really good advice. And hopefully people listen to that again. So, with that, I want to say thank you for being here. Thanks for our listeners to tuning in. Until next time, remember to disrupt the kitchen, fire up your career, stay hungry for change. I'm Christian, your disruptive chef, entrepreneur, host, signing off. Be the change, be the challenge, and set the world on fire. Miss Brianna, thanks for being here today.
Love it, love it. Thank you for having me.